Lazy Fluency Podcast へようこそ。お互い英語と日本語を切り替えながらカジュアルな会話を通して皆さんと一緒に言語を学んでいきます。あやめです。
And I'm Joey.
そして今日のテーマは台湾の一人旅。その前にいいね、チャンネル登録、フォロー、また聞いているプラットフォームでレビューもお願いします。ゴーファイルのサポートもよろしく。それでは今日のテーマ、台湾の一人旅。
2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I believe, Aimi did a solo trip to Taiwan. We talked about this episode before when we both went to Taiwan during the same time, but that time was more of like hitting up tourist spots in Taiwan, and this time it was more of Aimi venturing through her past, both places where her grandparents used to live, as well as just journeying on her own. And so that's why this episode is about heritage as well as that experience, and like what obligations do you have to your heritage. We've talked about this podcast quite a lot, so maybe for some people they're just used to hearing this, but although Aimi is like born and raised in Japan, she's ethnically Taiwanese. I don't know if you want to expand on that. In terms of your self-image, I don't even know. Actually, you've answered this before, but I guess now, you've been there. Do you consider yourself any portion of like Taiwanese in terms of identifying yourself? Because before, we've talked about this before in early episodes in the podcast, that you would really just say, I'm just Japanese. How do you feel about that now?
いやでもね、ちょっと実際のところ言うと、まあ、still Japanese かなとは思う。まあなんでかっていうと。
I'm not saying like you're either still Japanese or not Japanese. I'm saying, I guess, do you feel more Taiwanese?
Do I feel more Taiwanese?
For example, I'm Panamanian and American. I feel confident about both those things.
いや、なんか、そう、台湾行ったじゃん。で、そこで、ちょっと私も言語能力があんまり、なんていうの、ハイレベルじゃないから、その言語が通じないっていう上で、まだちょっと、ジャパニーズかなっていうのを感じてしまった。で、まあそうね、
この。What was your trip? What was like the difference? I kind of gave like a brief overview, but why were you doing this solo trip?
なんか、まあ、そもそも、3日4日ぐらいで行ったんだよね、今回は。前回は、1週間か。で、今回は、なんで行ったかっていうと、ちょうど、my grandparents が、台中、middle of Taiwan に、元々の家があって、で、そこに、なんか毎年墓参りかなんかで行くらしくて、で、それで、この時期に行くから、私も来たらどうみたいな感じで、で、ちょうど、ちょっと休み頑張って取って、で、一人でちょっとあっちに行って、あそこで、待ち合わせて行ったっていう感じで、そうね、でも、この、私が人生生きてきた中で、初めて、ね、my grandparents の、台湾の家に行って、正直、なんて言うんだろうね。いい言葉が見つからないな。なんか、歴史を感じるっていうか、元々の、私が、私の、そうね、そっか。grandparents がもし日本に来てなかった場合、ね、どうなってたかっていうのを考えさせられるような、ね、いい経験だったかなっていう感じで、いろいろ学びました。
Yeah, it's interesting that you never, I mean, I kind of know why, and there's parts of the reason maybe you can't, mention on the podcast, but like, it is really, I guess, strange that you haven't been to like Taiwan in a more capacity, especially like the places where your grandparents grew up, because your grandparents do still like maintain, a connection to the country. I do remember feeling a very similar way when I took a gap from like visiting Panama, like from like 2013, and I didn't come back until like it was like 2019 or something like that. And when I came back, and like when I've gone subsequent times since then, and because I used to live in Panama, like when I was younger, much younger, before the age of 8, and I see people who I knew when I was a kid, like kids or like neighbors, and it just becomes very obvious to me that like there was a completely other different Joey who was possible, you know.
でもさ、それ考えたら結果はね、だいぶ違うんだよね。そもそもペアレンツが会ってないしとかいろいろあるからさ、自分はいないとかね。それは置いといて。
the language component and like the heritage is I've always found interesting. I'm not entirely sure. It really depends. Like if you were obviously there's always a different accent, and it may be like heritage always gets more nuanced because like if you're from a country, right? If I'm from like America, I don't say like technically speaking. Fun podcast fact. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before. Maybe I have. I'm technically a Texan. I was born in Texas. That's the fun fact. Now the thing is, I hate Texas.
Howdy.
I hate what Texas stands for. I hate almost everything about Texas. I hate bigger is better. I hate that. I hate the guns. I hate everything. I do not like
Go
Texas.
big or go home
But I
と
was
か
born
そ
in
う
Texas.
わかんないけど
And then you might be thinking, Joey, you're from Idaho. Is that any better? Like to me, it is. I don't know. It's not much better. I wouldn't have chosen Idaho if it was up to me. But
なんかさ
at the very least, like I don't know, like all Idaho has is nature, and the nature it does have is nice. And I feel like Texas has so many other stuff that actively make it grow. At least Idaho is pretty. I don't think Texas is very pretty, but anyway, my point was like when you're from a country, you get more specific, right? Like a lot of times when people are saying I have heritage, like it's more of heritage to the country, and people aren't thinking I have heritage to this specific like smaller region. If they're if that makes any sense. Like or did you feel anything, I guess, I don't know, special when you were going to your
kind of
specific
まあそう
hometown locations?
今回のその旅で何を気づいたかっていうと、まあいろいろ気づいたんですけど、まずじゃあ最初に、まあね、前回、まあ年越しで、まあ台北行って、その前に私友達と一緒に弾丸一泊二日の旅で、台北行ったんだけど、その時って、行った瞬間、私が知らない言葉が話されてるわけよ。私ちょっと台湾ニーズはわかるのね。で、まあ、まあ、おじいちゃんおばあちゃんとか、especially my dad か、ね、たまにちょっと台湾語を使ったりとかで、まあ、触れてはいたんよ。で、だからちょっとはわかる。聞く方が得意。話すよりかは。ですが、まあ、ね、前回と前々回台北行った時に、一言もわかんなくて、何言ってんだこやつらは、と思って。で、私が今まで知っていた台湾語は何だったんだって思わせるぐらい、マジで何言ってるかわかんなくて、で、まあ、なんでだろうってずっと思ってたんよ。だけど、まあ、今回の旅で、まあ、なんか謎が、まあ、ちょっとずつ解けて、で、まあ、そうね、大体、まあ、台北の、桃園国際空港っていうのが、あって、まあ、そこが一番の多分、でかい、空港だから、まあ、沖縄から台湾に行って、で、そこ着きますと。で、言葉通じないから、まあ、英語使うじゃん。大体もう英語を使ってて、で、その台北から台中に行くので、まあ、新幹線みたいなやつ。まあ、新幹線かな、そうそう。ハイスピードレオみたいなやつ。で、
Every country but America,
そう、ハイスピードレオに乗って、まあ、1時間ぐらいだったかなで、台中に行けたと。そう。で、台中から、まあ、ちょっとバスで1時間半、ぐらい乗って、my grandparents の、まあ、ハウスに、行ったんだけど、もうそこだと、私が知っている台湾語を喋っている。で、ちょうど、
cool.
うん。
I mean, makes sense.
そう。ちょうど、ね、なんか知らんけど、私の、おじいちゃんと、おじいちゃんのお兄さん弟か。が一緒に住んでて、なんか、合同の家みたいな感じになってて。で、そこ行ったら、まあ私も今まで会ったことない、お母さんのいとこかな。だから、私のおじいちゃんの弟の息子か。うん。がいて、まあちょっと、地域案内してくれるよっていうので。で、まあその人とも喋ったりして、まあ私が知っている台湾語であった。で、
was this person was it your grandfather's, wait, you said grandfather's son?
My grandfather's, そう、brother's son. だから、私のお母さんのいとこってことだよね、そう。で、だから、
Wait, your mom's cousin?
おじ
Is that how that works?
おじ
on your mom's side?
おじなのかなわかんないわ。 おじじゃないか。いや、違うか。
was this person, did this person stay like in Taiwan? Or
いやいや、
did
ずっ
they
と台湾にい
move
る。
to Japan
ずっ
as
と
well?
台湾にいるんだけど。
Okay, so you have like an actual, a counter, what's it called? Like an alter ego. And I think they're a guy, right?
あ、そうそう、
am I thinking the right
そう
person?
そう。
Yeah, so this is like this is the alter ego Ayumi. Are they the same age around?
違うよ。my mother と近いよ。だから50とかじゃないお金。
Oh, I saw a guy that didn't look like they were that old. Was that
あ、
somebody else?
40、ごめん。
Was the picture-
40何かもしれない。40何歳か。
Oh man, maybe Asians are just really young. I didn't know
まあ
that was
そう
that
そう
young.
そう。で、まあその人たちとか、まあ、いろいろ喋って、そのバス、台中駅の、そのバスのカウンターにいる職員とかも私が知ってる台湾語を喋ってた。で、まあ、ちょっとね、調べた内容を、まあ紹介すると、まあ私が知ってる台湾語っていうのが、主に台湾の南部とか、あと、年取った年配の人を中心に日常会話で使われてる闽南語っていう、もので、で、今メインで使われてるのって、北京語らしいんよ。その、台北とか、若者が使ってるのは北京
Isn't
語。
Peking like Mandarin in English?
あ、そう、多分、I think it's Mandarin かな。で、私このね、旅終わってから本を買ったんだけど、まあちょっとね、旅の前から読んどけばよかったのかなと思ったんだけど、一応本が、台湾物語、これ、美しいって読むのかな？美しの島の、過去、現在、未来っていう、本があって、それ、ちょっと今前半読んでて、そこに書いてあったのが、まあ、昔台湾って、普通に先住民族っていうのかな。まあ、沖縄みたいに、沖縄って琉球王国だったから、まあ、琉球人が住んでて、で、まあ、日本が、まあ、支配する前は、その先住民族プラス、まあ、中国の大陸の方の、まあ、福建省とか、まあ、そうね、海岸沿いのとこから、まあ、移民はあったらしい。で、
Yeah, I was going to say that before that, there's also
そう。
all the Chinese people are actually not native to Taiwan.
そう。で、まあ、その先住民族は先住民族で、まあ、言葉はなんかあって、で、まあ、その中国から渡ってきた人たちが、いて、で、多分、その人たち、プラス、まあ、先住民族わかんないけど、そこのいきさつわかんないけど、まあ、台湾語、私が知ってる台湾語を話してたと。で、まあ、日本が支配しますと。ね。まあ、戦争で勝って、台湾手に入れたってなって、で、まあ、それ支配しました。で、その後、日本が、まあ、戦争で負けたから、まあ、中国に、なんていうの、手渡すっていうのかな。形になって、で、まあ、中国大陸から、まあ、多分今までで一番多い人数の移民が来て、今に至るみたいな感じで、だからその時期に結構この北京語っていうのが、まあ、強いられたっていうか、まあ、普及したっていうのか、なんて言えばいいかわかんないけど。っていうので、話されてて、で、だから私が知ってたやつ。
You're talking about post-war? Like the Mandarin came most primarily post-war?
だと思う。most of it だと思う。そう。That's
Well, I was
why
going to say the original, you're talking about like a larger immigrant population, but at least from how I understand it, the largest first immigrant population came under when the Dutch like took over.
あ、そうなんだよ。オランダ、なんか面白いのがオランダにもね、一応占領はされてたから、なんか聞いたのが、土地の、何平方メートルとかあるじゃん。日本だと1畳とかさ、いろいろ面白いなんか数え方があるけど、あっちだと、その台湾だと、オランダの数え方してるらしくて、面積的なのが。だから、まあ、名残はあるのかなっていうので。で、うん。
So good.
まあ、ちょっとこの後、その旅の詳細について話そうかなと思うんだけど、なんかある
Did your like this was you wanted to do it? Did your grandparents feel any like wanting you to know about Taiwan? Because in my head, I was thinking about this. Like I have some questions here, which is basically like how important is it that somebody connects with their heritage? And for me, I was thinking about like, okay, well, if imagine I'm an ancestor, right?
うん。
You know, a lot of times in movies, you see like people connecting with their ancestors. You know,
うん。
there's a line of ancestors. I'm like, if I was connecting with my ancestors,
う
and
ん。
maybe I don't know what, and I was one of my ancestors, would I be like, because if you look at my DNA, it's a complete mess. It's my DNA is a complete mess.
メ
It's
ス
from
っていうの
everywhere.
かな。
I don't know. Like, there's one of my ancestors in Spain, and I'm thinking like, is this ancestor like who's way far back going? I wish you would connect with Spain. You know, at some point, I think the percentage dwanes enough that you know it loses its important. But like I've answered like from like was it Tobago? There's a guy plays or place a guy a
あ
place
あ、
called
トバゴ。
was it something in
へえ。
Tobago in Africa as well as like
すごい
Niger
ね。
and then Spain and then this is I haven't done a blood test but my brother has and so yeah like all these different countries are there and so I'm saying like what degree of obligation do I have to do it and even if I was an ancestor from any one of these the further down you get in generations
うん。
the less of an obligation I feel. But anyways, I'm wondering if your grandparents mentioned anything like
いや、
if on their perspective.
何も、なんか知って欲しかったとか別に言われはしないけど、まあでも聞いたら普通に答えてくれるから、で、うん、そうね。別に。
Do you wish that that you were introduced to Taiwan more than you have been?
まあ、多分なんか、来るとかは多分言われてたかなとは思うんだけど、まあいろいろな理由がありまして、私は今まで行ったことなかったんですよ。で、まあ、そうね、でも今回行けてよかったかな。まあ自分で私が行きたいって言ったから、行けたっていうのも
I
あ
mean,
るし。
do you think that's related to? Because so another caveat I was making when I was kind of thinking about this is one of the times that if I was an ancestor I would really care would be about if the reason that a population moved or the reason that the person in the future doesn't have a cultural connection is because of cultural suppression. And as you know, Japan is a country that a lot of the reasons where like immigrant populations don't tend to have as much ties with whatever culture they came from is because Japan had active cultural suppression initiatives. Even in the place you're in right now, like Okinawa, that was a really big thing. And so, and a lot of young people, like I don't know, I'd be actually curious. Maybe we have some opportunity to get some older. Maybe we can. I'd be interested if we could actually see if we can get some older Okinawan, like person with tie like on the podcast. I don't know, maybe I'm not promising anything, but I'd be very interested to hear if I was from their perspective, like reading up more on Okinawa's history, I'd be very bummed to see
でも
like,
だからよく聞くのは、
a lot of young people who just have they're just like, no, I'm Japanese 100%.
いやだから
And I was like,
よ
no.
く
And I'm
言
not
うのは
saying
さ、
you're Japanese, but
私は直接、年取ってる人から聞いたことではないんだけど、まあでも、中には、まあちょっとね、私は琉球人、沖縄人かわかんないけど、で、なんかね、日本は嫌いみたいな人は、まあ中にはいるっていうのは聞いたけどね。で、まあ、今でもうちな中、沖縄の言葉を話せるか、人も全然いるし、で、たまにね、私も患者さんとかで、めちゃめちゃ強い沖縄の言葉を喋られて、ちょっと何言ってるかわかんないけど、でも、その中でも、まあ、私のお母さん世代の人たちの看護師さんとかはわかる、その言葉わかる人もいるしっていうので。
I will say what's called there is a balance there, obviously, because it's like at the same time, if you're growing up in a country, you want to feel like you're part of the country. But I think in America, a lot of times it's a lot easier. I mean, ignoring the current moment, but generally speaking, I think it's easier to hold two truths in your head. Like, yes, there are a bunch of differences between me and like a Panamanian Joey that was only in Panama. But I still do identify with being Panamanian, and I do have a degree of that cultural connection still. So, but if I'm wondering, like, obviously, if I felt like I had to hide that, like a lot of people do in Japan historically, if I would have any degree of that connection, you mentioned before that like you would like kind of hide the fact you're
そうね。
Taiwanese. Yeah.
そうね。
I mean, I don't know. Have you ever mentioned your name thing? The name thing you do? Is that something you've mentioned on the podcast?
どういうこと
Your like code name? Your code name?
いや、どうせ私の名前を言っても通じないから、もう、なんか、なんていうのたまに、 一般的な日本の名前で予約を取ったりとかっていうね。だって電話越しだと聞こえないじゃん。何言ってるか、みたいな。だから、
Well, I don't think
代
that
わ
was
り
the
に、
original
田中
reason,
とか
right?
わかんない
That's
けど、
not.
そうそうそうそう。
Yeah, but
いいね。
like I couldn't imagine. I mean, I guess yeah. What's it called? What would I? I have like a mixed name because
そう
that's
ね。
Hispanic names be like that. But I've not. Maybe there are Hispanics who do that, but I'm less familiar with that being a thing. It feels very weird to me. I understand why historically some population have done it, both in Asia, but to me it just feels so weird going back. Like imagine if I moved to Japan and changed my name to like I don't know, Tanaka or something.
うん。
Like I just couldn't identify myself as being Tanaka. I don't know how you, but I guess you do it in some. Obviously you haven't done an official capacity.
う
But
ん。で、そうね、今回は、タイ中はまず行って、で、その後に、私の dad サイドの、故郷、うん、私の dad は結構もう2歳とかで日本に来ちゃってんだけど、は台南で、台南っていうのが、文字通り台湾の台に南って書いて台南。で、この台南っていうのが、よく言われるのが日本の京都みたいな感じっていうの言われてて、で、日本の京都って昔、都だったじゃん。東京じゃなくて、昔のキャベロは京都で。で、それと同じで台南は昔は台湾の、中心地であって、で、だから古き良き台湾みたいな感じの場所。で、そう、台南行ったんだけど、台南は1日ぐらいしか行けなかったんだよね。で、行って思ったのは、その、道路とか結構整備はされてて、なんかめちゃめちゃ綺麗で。
Is that the place that I thought that looked like the, what is it called? The famous pictures, is it Bali or I don't know, I imagine this
わ
like
かんないわ。
what is that? What's that place in my head? I don't know if I'm thinking India or whatever, but there's there was this huge, large terrace area with this like big temple at the end, right? Or not temple. I don't know.
店舗とかいっぱいあるとこなんだよね。で、ちょっとね、いろいろ散策はしてたんだけど、ある美術館があって、で、その美術館が、なんと、ちょっと紹介すると、名前忘れちゃったな。なんだっけ？そう、名前後で言うわ。思いついたら。で、その美術館が、なんか昔、なんかめっちゃでかい会社の、男の人がいて、その人が、なんか結構、なんて言うんだろうね、バイオリンとか、結構、美術品とか集めてて、で、それはそれでいいんだけど、でもその人が、いや、この自分が持ってるやつは、その一般の人に、共有しないといけないみたいな。共有してこそ、なんか、アートだみたいな感じのが言ってたらしくて、で、その人が、個人的に始めた、なんか美術館で、なんかめちゃめちゃでかくて綺麗なんよ。で、着いた瞬間、ここはなんか西洋にいるのかって感じるぐらい、台湾って感じないぐらいの、ちょっとウエスタンな雰囲気があって、
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. I was
そうそう、
saying
キビ、
but it's
なん
hard
だ
to
っけ、
describe
キビ
because
美
to me
術館かな。そうそう
it
そう。
felt kind of like a wonder-ish, like Seven Wonders.
わかんない。
Maybe I'm thinking of Taj Mahal. Is that what I'm thinking of?
はい。
But anyway, no, but I know it's not Western. But in my head, like make that vibe, but Westerny. But then for some reason, it's in. I thought this was.
地名、キビ博物館って日本語では言うんだけど、地名って書いてあるね。ミュージアムって書いてあるんだけど、そう、ここが、実際ちょっと台南行った人は行ってほしいんだけど、なんだかんだそう、個人で始めた割には結構な数あって、全体的に良かった。すごい広い庭園とかあって、で、川とかブリッジとかあったりとかで、カモさん泳いでたりとかで、あそこは良かったんだけど、その帰り道に、面白いことが起こって。で、私はそのバスを待ってたのね、帰りの。で、なんかバス来ないね、みたいな感じになってて、で、そしたら突然、60歳ぐらいかな ?60 歳ぐらいの男の人が、なんか、車止めて、なんか、こっちの方歩いてきて、で、最初なんて言ってるか分かんなかったんだよ。で、なんたらかんたら、みたいな言ってて、みたいな。私、なんか、I don't understand みたいな言ったら、何の言葉話すのみたいな言われて、Japanese and English って言ったら、 その男の人が、私日本語喋りますよ、みたいなこと言ってき
Were you
て、
speaking in English or Japanese?
I was speaking in English で、あの人は多分、最初はね、多分、私が知らない方の北京語を喋ってたんよ。で、じゃあ私はちょっとわかりませんって言ったんだけど、で、その人が日本語を話して、私の車乗ってきますかみたいな。で、ちょうど私の隣に、一組のカップルがいて、男の人と女の人いて、で、その人たちと私で一緒に乗っけてもらうことになったんよ。ありがとうございますって。
Okay.
De-
The other couple sounds less sketchy. But I was going to say you're trying to get
そう、だからちょうどそう、めちゃめちゃ優
kidnapped.
しい行為で、車乗っけてくれるよっていう話で、で、まあ普通に優しそうだったし、まあ私の他にもう二人いるし、まあ安心だし、と思って、まあ普通に乗ったわけ。で、そう、なんで日本語わかるんですかみたいな話になっ車の中でしてて、で、その人が言ってたのが、まず昔ってさ、日本が支配したわけじゃん。で、本とかでも書いてあったんだけど、日本、ね、どんな、ブルーローに、日本語強制したのかちょっとよくわからないけど、まあ、でも、日本語は今のちょっと高齢の人たちは話せるの。台湾の人は。で、そうね、いろいろ聞いてたら。
I wonder if, man, I'm actually very curious to like why, I don't know, but I'm saying why Taiwan uses the traditional like characters, and I wonder if that has any relation. Maybe it's just coincidence, because obviously Japanese use the same.
うん、ちょっとそれは調べないとわかんないわ。or ask my dad. ね、かもしれないけど。まあ、で、そのね、優しい中高年のおじさんに、まあ、いろいろ聞いてて、で、まあ、私が、まあ、日本は台湾支配したじゃんってなって、で、やっぱり支配された側って結構支配した側を嫌う傾向にあるじゃん。で、日本嫌いじゃないんですかみたいな聞いたら、いやもう日本は素晴らしい国だみたいな、感じで言ってて、みたいな。で、なんでですかみたいな言ったら、まあ、まずなんかいろいろ日本がしてくれたことがたくさんあってって言ってて、まず一つ目が、ね、水道とかの整備パイプラインとかね、整備をしてたり、あと、交通網、道路とか。
Is Japan's the reason that the pipes aren't wide enough to flush toilet paper through?
いや、わかんない。それは知らんけど。昔だからね、しょうがないよね。そう。で、まあそうね、あと、交通網ね、道路とか、電車とか、なんか、public transportation を整えたのは日本だと。で、あと、教育と、あと、病院とか、あと、衛生状況とか、なんかそういうのも整えてくれたのが日本だし、で、まあ日本人はなんかすごく優しいし、なんたらかんたらみたいな言ってて、で、あ、そうなんだと思って。で、そうね、結構、うん。
I will say I never, Americans, I mean, deservedly never really hear that from somebody else. Like, man, I was really happy, like, from Panamanian. How do you feel about Americans? Man, I really like when they occupied our country.
そう、なんか珍しいよね、こうやって結構慕われてんのって。で、それで、私はまた別の日に、普通にgrandparents に聞いてたんよ。なんか台湾人って日本、のことどう思ってんのみたいな聞いたら、みんなね、日本好きだよねみたいな。そうなんだみたいに言ってたら、嫌いな人いなかったのみたいな。あんまいないんじゃないなんでかっていうと、日本嫌いな人は全員殺されたからねみたいな、ははみたいな言ってて、確かにとか思ったけど、まあでもまあそれは置いといて、まあそうね、台南は、まあそう、京都みたいなところで、結構そう、私ちょっとだけブラブラ歩いてはいたんよ。で、なんか見つけたのが、なんか林デパートっていうデパートがあって、これがなんか100年ぐらい前に日本が、なんか台湾に、作った、なんかデパート、初めてのデパートみたいな、感じで、なんか最近、再現されて、戻ってきたらしいんだけど、そう、80年の時を経て生まれ変わった林百科みたいな書いてて、そう、ここが結構ね、面白かった。
is it one of the ones I went to?
No.
Like, did I see the department store?
私初めて行ったもん、この台南で。台南にしかないよ、これ。
Oh, okay. It's only in Tainan.
そう。
Okay.
で、この林ね、百貨店っていうのが、そう、1930年代に台湾の近代文明の幕開けとともに始まったらしいと。そうそう、インフラ設備が整って、で、ファッションとか音楽とか映画とか、なんかね、そういうものが入ってきて、山口県の出身の実業家である林、なんて読むんだ型って書いて1。っていう人が、作ったんだって。で、そうね。だから、結構、ここに集まってたのが、まあ、日本から来た質のいいものを取り入れましたみたいな感じの、中身でもうね、日常品
That's
使うもの
the
とか、
department or like Tainan generally?
台南の中にある一個のデパートがあるんよ。ここしかない。チェーンとかじゃないんだけど、多分。そう。で、ここめちゃめちゃそう、なんかね、モダンな感じの、建物で、中が、まあ、木造で、ね、バッグとか、装飾品とか、香りのなんとかとか、手作りのなんとかみたいな、結構質がいいものを売ってて、あ、これ昔だったら結構流行ってただろうなっていう感じ。まあ今でも流行ってると思うんだけど、そのね、日本でしか手に入らない、ね、いいものをここで買えるってなったら結構人も集まってたんだろうなっていう印象で。で、だから結
I mean,
構、
even
う
now,
ん。
I was saying even nowadays, as
今も結構めちゃめちゃ
like
人い
when
る。
my,
うん。
yeah, I was gonna say one of my impressions of when we were traveling to Korea and Taiwan is that it was surprising how many Japanese goods
うん。
were everywhere.
そうそうそう。やっぱ
More
り
especially, Taiwan had a mix of both, but I'd say Korea really felt like it was the majority of things that like they were selling pop culture wise were just from Japan.
うんうんう
And there are like
ん。
reasons for that, but I did find that interesting, especially because like on paper, I know Taiwan, like modern day Taiwan,
う
like
ん。
the relationship's pretty good with Japan, but
う
like
ん。
Korea's like on paper isn't.
う
So it's always a little
ん。
like weird.
そう
I'd
や
like to
ね。
travel at some point to like mainland China
う
because I know
ん。
that once again like their governments on paper aren't very close,
う
obviously,
んうんう
but
ん。
in terms of like trade that happens between Japan and China, in terms of tourism that happens between Japan and China, there's a huge, China's Japan's number one client, in both in terms of international tourism and in terms of the trades of trade of like many. Although I think the U.S. in some sectors is now higher because of recent but historically, China's been like one of the number one, if not the number one trader. But yeah, I don't know. I am curious if anybody else has any like situations with heritage, kind of like IME does, and I would be interested to hear about like how you think about that, like your obligations to learn more about the place you were from, or at some point, and like at what point is that not important anymore? A lot of times in the US you'll hear people say like I'm 1/8 or like 1/16 Indian, and it's like if you're 1/16th, then that means there's plenty of things you're 1/16th at that point. And it's like what makes that connection important to actually have to have a connection to? I definitely think there's something there, like if the reason you don't have a strong connection is because of regions of historical oppression, then my head goes like, if I was an ancestor, I'd be like, man, it's a real shame, like, because it's like you let the conquerors win. You know what I'm saying?
うん。
It's like you let the imagine you're watching a TV show and then all the protagonists die, and the next season the main character is like the son of one of the villains.
うん。
So I could, yeah. But anyways, yeah, let us know. And we're back with the final section. And if you made it to the final section, that means you send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com with a comment, question, language related, and or otherwise. And this was a week. I don't know if we've ever done this on the podcast before, but I didn't want to cut IME off during the story. So our first section was very long, which is why we don't have time for the middle section this week. But yeah, also, yeah, obviously feel free to ask any Taiwan related questions I me as well because I'm pretty sure she'd be happy to answer. But anyways, this week we've had emails. Sorry if we haven't gotten back to your email. There've been many emails. There've been many Spotify comments. And this Spotify comment, I think was responding to our episode from, was it 2 weeks ago? Which I cannot remember what that episode about, but I'll read the comment and probably remember as we go. From
Mississippi.
Mississippi. I'm not entirely sure. And they said, paying the U.S. taxes, even if you are making money outside with that country, with that country's currency, it's the reason that kept me from getting citizenship. Honestly, I've seen way too many foreigners given refugee citizenships, and they have a strong hostility towards the U.S. So Japan wanting you to renounce your citizenship and wanting full commitment from you does make sense for a country like Japan. The 10 years waiting period is just like the US, and traffic violation can make it harder too. P.S. My husband's friend lost a dream job with the US federal government because he knew me. And the way they phrased it was they didn't want potential empathy for foreigners to impact his work. It sucked to know that just merely knowing me impacted good people in this way. I felt so bad. I love this podcast. I love being able to see that every country is in a way the same. Thank you for the comment.
ありがとうございます。
I have many thoughts. I'm wondering if Amy does.
このさ、
I'm trying to be as nice as possible with my thoughts.
ミスレイズさんはさ、どこの国の出身なんかなわかんないけど。
It's ambiguous, but it seemed like she's in a situation where she could get citizenship, but it sounds like she's an immigrant.
で、あれだよね、友達は、彼女彼わかんないけど、を知っているから、lost a dream job か。仕事のチャンスをね。
right now. I can't not say this.
なんか結構さ、これさ、やってる。
Please tell me this dream job isn't ice. we need a follow up. You need to tell me this dream job isn't ice. I'm happy they lost their job if that is what we're talking about. I just can't think of many jobs in the United States right now where they're like, you know, an immigrant, that's going to make it hard to do this job. So please write in and tell me that it isn't ice because I have no empathy for somebody who lost their ice job. And I also don't think they're a good person. So let's just put it right there.
まあそのさ、この、just because, they know somebody who's not the US citizen, っていうのが、なんか、やってることナチだもんね。
Yeah, they lost their job. I'm saying I'm trying to think about what other job that could possibly be. Maybe like, government job too? Government job now? I don't know. You're working in like, I don't know, public housing. Do we have that anywhere? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Dream job too? Well, I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm gonna do assumption of the benefit of the doubt. It's not ice. We're talking about some other job that for some reason that's impacted. But I will say I'm curious about your thoughts. I will definitely say my thoughts because I have strong opinions on this.
Obviously.
Do you think citizens need to be patriotic about the country they're getting a citizenship for?
Patriotic っていうとなんかちょっとさ、組織的ななんか洗脳感がある気がするけど、まあでもその国が好きっていうね、尊敬とか、その国を尊敬とか、まあする心はあってほしいよね。だってさ、よく日本、まあこれもちょっとね、ポリティコになるかもしれんけどさ、日本のさ、まあカルチャーあるじゃん？竹。京都とかにさ、まあ嵐山とかでね、バンブーフォレストとかあるじゃん？まあそういうところで、ね、傷つけて落書きしようとかね、そういうことをね、しないとか、まあそれってさ、まあ愛国心っていうよりかはさ、普通にルールじゃない？なんか人間としての。
Well, I guess I have a question to you. Would you, you can kind of see where maybe I'm hinting towards my opinion lines here, but do you think a Japanese person should lose their citizenship if they don't like Japan?
てかそういう人は普通に移住してるんじゃない？
I'm talking about a Japanese person. Like a
Japanese person.
Japanese person born and raised. I'm saying, do you think they should lose their citizenship if they don't like
lose っていうか、lose 別にルーズはしないとは思うけど、そういう人はもう違う国に住んでるんじゃない？
Do you think they should lose their citizenship? Because you're kind of, it seems like you're leaning a little bit and saying, well, I think they should like Japan. out of my opinion on this is I think it's absurd. I think that when you're getting immigrants into your country, you're doing so for a benefit. Both parties are benefiting in theory. You're getting labor, and in that both parties benefiting, and you have a country that immigrants are coming to, they're there for a reason, and they're there because they're going to be a plus to your country. And I think the idea of doing like loyalty pledges is ridiculous. You earn respect, you earn love.
だから、デュオじゃなくて、もうトリポぐらいあってもいいと思うよ。トリポとか。
Triple? What are you talking about, triple?
なんか、dual citizenship.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about dual citizen. I'm not talking about dual citizenship. I'm talking about whether or not to get citizenship, you need to like love the country that you're there for. To me, it's like one of those situations where you have a teacher. Let's say, you have a bad teacher in class and they go, you need to respect me. And I go, no, respect is earned. Like if your country is good and is good to them, then they will like your country. If a country is bad to them, then, maybe they initially thought it wasn't going to be one way. Like you don't deserve, or you like they're you don't just get that as a default thing. And I think that's a benefit. If you have citizens who come in, or people who come in and they immigrate and they end up disliking your country or parts of the country that you're in, that is showing a problem with your country that it's probably beneficial that there's an issue. Like if every single immigrant, and no offense, Miss, I can't pronounce your name, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure. But one of my things that annoys me the most, and I'm using that terminology, and there's other words in my head that I wanted to use, with American immigrants who come in and they basically say, I'm an immigrant and I'm this way, and all other immigrants should be this way. And I understand, it's okay for them to be treated poorly if they don't meet the box that I've set for immigrants, because, I want to be accepted by the community. That kind of behavior infuriates me. It's like you're gatekeeping, you come in and you're like, I'm accepted and I'm going to shut the door on the people behind me. And I'm just saying, like, if immigrants bring a benefit to the country, that's why, they're allowed. That's why, countries rely on immigration. And I think if you have a country that is good to them back, they will like your country. They will like being here. And this is beside the fact that people having criticisms of the government is not liking the country. I could write an endless wall of criticisms, like an endless wall of criticisms towards the United States. I like the people. I don't like the government. I don't like the state. I don't like historically what they've done. But I'm not a like hate America. That's not how I feel about America. I feel like America has a lot. I'm the fact that I even rep Idaho. Idaho's I'm not conservative. Idaho's a very conservative state. It's kind of weird that I rep Idaho in a lot of ways, but it's because I've lived here. I like a lot about Idaho. But there's a lot I dislike, but that doesn't mean I dislike Americans, although I dislike some Americans. It's nuanced. And I don't think that restricting citizenship based on that I think that's insane. But yeah, that's kind of I don't know if that perspective. I don't know if how much you've thought about this, but to me, it's like it just gets to the point of like brainwashing. And I know like for a lot of when you get citizenship, like most countries have it that you have to make a pledge for the United States. You literally have to do it for the United States. I know for the UK, you have to like pledge to the Queen. I wouldn't be surprised if Japan, you have to, make some pledge. Do you have like any things where you have to like pledge the emperor or something, like in any sort
pledge
of like, government sense? The emperor? Because in the US, there are a lot of things where you have to like pledge to God in like a we are Pledge of Allegiance and stuff like that. It's literally called the Pledge of Allegiance. Are you familiar with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I don't know.
It's something that you have to do a lot of times when I was a kid in school, you like elementary school, like the beginning of class, you'd have to stand up and then put a hand over your heart and then literally turn to the flag and say,
あれね、国歌斉唱みたいな時に、よくさ、スポーツとかで国歌流れた時にやるやつだよね。みんなフランシスコ・ザビエルになるってことだよね。
Yes. I think that's insane. And I don't know if other countries even do that, but yes. Does nothing like that in Japan, right? You don't have to pledge.
でもサッカー選手とかやるんじゃない？その。
I think that's just they're playing your anthem, right? I'm talking about how have I not? Can I remember? I said it so many times. Let me see. If I can remember the beginning, I can remember the rest of it. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There you go. See, it's still in my head. I don't know the last time I said that. It's in my head since It is brainwashing. Isn't that crazy? I just pulled something from like it's fifth or fourth or third grade or something. Anyway, I obviously, hopefully, I wasn't getting angry, at you, the commenter, but I also feel like I appreciate the comments, and that we chose to respond to it because I thought it was an interesting topic, and a point of discussion. But at the same time, I can't not say how I actually feel about a certain issue. Everyone knows, that's how I am, and we appreciate the comment. That bell means we reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us on the Lazy Conversation Towards Fluency. If you have any language-related questions and are looking for general advice, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com and you might respond in the next episode. Also, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi to give video updates, Discord access, and or just lend a hand. And find me to Care About Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. We'd appreciate the support. This has been Joey.
And I'm Yami.
Signing off.
じゃあねー。
じゃあねー。